Hi. In our previous video, we were discussing more about data types and we understood what kind of data types are there in Rust. But in this one, we'll talk about type inferences. This was a topic which was pending from the previous one and the video was quite long. That's why I want to discuss in this one. So Rust has basic three concepts in order to understand what exactly data types are. And I want you to know these concepts because in future, if you go ahead by declaring variables, you'll have to be very precise with respect to the data types. Now, the first concept which I want you to understand is Rust is a statically typed language. Now, what do I mean with statically typed language? I mean that Rust needs to know what exactly is the data type of each and every variable which you have defined. Now, it also means that you cannot assign different values to different types of variables. Like if I say let a is equal to 6 and I make it a char, does it make sense? No, it does not. A should be if a's value is 6, then it should be a signed integer or an unsigned integer. So we'll have to define the data types of each and every variable, and it has to be quite obvious with the code itself. Now the second point is type inference. Like it basically shows, or it basically mentions, like Rust is not that idiot as well. If I do not assign a specific data type, Rust can infer by itself that what kind of data type it is for the variable. If I say, suppose like if let a is equal to 6, I do not need to specify that this is a u32 or i32 variable. So Rust is smart in that case, but there are instances when Rust basically gets confused. That's our third point. Now when we have a specific case like this one, I'll copy this code and I'll paste it here. What's happening here is we are taking 42 in the format of string, and we are trying to parse it or change its data type to a integer, actually an unsigned 32 integer. But Rust does not know that this parsing will basically convert it into a string or a character or an integer or a boolean or a float. Rust doesn't know that because Rust does not understand what is this string is going to become actually. So what do we do then? We basically define that specific data type in which we want to convert it. If we do not do so, Rust will get confused and it will panic. So Rust needs to understand what kind of data type conversions are happening if you're doing it explicitly. That's when Rust gets confused. So if you don't mention that specific data type when you're converting, Rust will get confused and it will panic and it will not compile. Just for example, if I remove u32, we know that 42 is a number and we are trying to parse it into a number. But if we do not specify the data type and I build it, Rust will basically throw an exception. I haven't saved this part yet. So if I do it, Rust will not understand anything, and Rust is requesting for a type here. If we do not specify a type here, it becomes very difficult for Rust to understand. So if I add u32 as the data type of guess, in that case, if I do a build, it goes fine, and if I do a run, it basically works. That's the third point, which mentions we have to specify data types in case we are parsing or we are doing explicit conversions of one data type to another. That is something which I wanted to explain in this video, and thank you. See you in the next one. We'll be discussing more about u size and I size in the next video, so don't miss that because it is quite used when we are iterating over an array, and we have to cover iterations and control flows as well in upcoming videos. Thanks.